didn't have anybody injured.
No, they're
They're
still traumatized.
still traumatized by this. They were reporting. I heard children say it. I heard administrators say it. They were having the kids close their eyes when they
Walk by the bodies.
when they ran out of the school because they had to go past the main office where the principal and the office staff was, and it's just,
I know,
it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And unfortunately, in the media, the discussion is going to be pointed at guns and what can we do to get rid of this gun culture. And we'll probably hear from Bob Costas on Sunday Night Football, although maybe not, because
we've already heard from Mayor Bloomberg.
We did, and that was completely predictable.
Never let a tragedy go to waste.
Yeah. In Bob Costas's case, this probably isn't as tragic as an NFL player killing himself. Because it's not football, but
I don't know.
I'm sure
that.
He'll have some pretty stupid opinions on it.
And you look. I'll give an example. You look at Israel. In Israel, they allow their teachers to carry firearms. Now you can say, well, it doesn't correlate, because they're in a, militarized zone. People want to kill them all the time. But I can say that if you have teachers that are armed protecting their children in classrooms, they have a better chance of stopping this madness than when they're not armed. And you don't have mass shootings going on in Israeli schools.
Yeah.
I mean, they carry weapons on the buses when they go on field trips. They carry it in the classroom. I think these mad people that want to pick these places do so because they know that they're not going to have armed resistance.
Yeah.
Until the police come. They're free to kill as many people as they want until those police come. Which brings us to new legislation in Michigan. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah, we can. It actually just passed
the House and Senate.
House and Senate, yeah. Senate Bill 59 in Michigan. That doesn't mean much to anybody outside of the state, but
goes before the governor.
The big change that really most gun owners like is that it allows you to take some extra training. I think it's an extra 8-hour class and 94 rounds shot at the range or something. And then you get a little X on your concealed pistol license so you can be exempt from the pistol-free zones as defined by the law. Which
includes schools, K through 12.
It does include schools in Michigan. Really, the only thing you'd be excluded from carrying concealed is federal buildings.
And courts.
And courts.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, personally, I don't like the bill because
there's language in it.
In the course of doing this, it bans the openly carried firearms in these places, which you can do today with a concealed pistol license. You can openly carry in the pistol-free zones of bars, churches, schools, things like that.
Right. But the schools were fighting that, and some schools were actually giving trespass notice to parents that were openly carrying in their schools, whether it was lawful or not. We don't know.
And we have laws that but superintendents and things can ask anybody to leave, and you have to leave no matter what. And it's a hairy situation.
And
but
some schools allowed it.
No laws are clear.
Right.
I mean,
Well, that's the famous quote. When it come to the law, ain't nothing understood.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I don't like the bill because it's not. I don't like any gun legislation, and this one definitely is not 100% pro-gun.
But it does allow those that want to take the additional training to carry in these so-called gun-free zones, including schools.
Concealed only, yes.
So at least in Michigan, if the governor signs this, and we're not sure that he will in light of this tragedy.
Yeah, he may use it as an excuse.
Right. But the thing is, then at least some of these people that want to wreak havoc in schools will have to at least consider the possibility that some of the parents or teachers or staff members are carrying weapons concealed on their person that could stop their evil plot.
Yeah, they'll have to think about it at least.
It could be a deterrent.
We don't know. I don't see too many school districts allowing teachers and staff to carry. But definitely there could be parents in there.
Yeah, there was in Texas. There were some school districts that were actually, I think, requiring some teachers that if they had their license to carry.
Really?
Yeah. So
and
it varied.
I think that's
from
great.
state to state.
Required. I'm not a big fan of anything
I
being
don't know if it was
mandated,
required, but they were allowing them to carry.
I think that's great. I would feel much more comfortable if I knew that the staff at a school was armed and had the ability, or a daycare, had the ability to defend themselves. And I mean, I'll look around the area and we might see some pop up, some schools or daycares that advertise and do a little more to guarantee the safety of the kids. Yeah. I guess we'll see.
So, it's a horrible tragedy. My point, and Nate was bashing me there a little bit, but my point was these gun-free zones don't work. They're killing fields. They're places where a crazy person realizes, and we saw this in Aurora with the shooting in the theater.
In the theater, exactly.
He chose a theater that was posted no guns allowed. So he figured that his chances of having somebody in there with a firearm were lower than other places and other theaters that allowed patrons to carry arms.
Yep, exactly.
And so he picked that spot for that purpose. So we know that this goes through their mind and they think about it.
Yep.
And if you could just arm some people in these places to take out these scumbags, that there would be less killings. I'm not saying they're going to eliminate all killings. I can't guarantee that. Nobody can guarantee that.
Of course not.
But I can guarantee you, if there was parents and teachers in this school and this guy starts shooting and they start shooting back, he's either going to get hit or he's going to run out of that building and he's going to stop his destructive rampage.
Even if he
it could save
very
lives.
least, it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
I mean,
would you rather be lined up against a wall and shot, bam, 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 or at least given a chance to fight back?
And like I was saying earlier about all the forensic evidence, we'll probably find this out, but the reports I hear, it sounds like that is probably pretty close to what happened in this classroom. He went into a classroom where these kids were probably huddled near their cubbies doing what they're supposed to do to stay safe.
Right.
According to
and just
all these standards. And
we'll see. I don't know. It's horrible.
Absolutely terrible. I feel really bad for the families affected or not. I mean, everybody's affected. But, you talked about Senate Bill 59 here in Michigan. We had another big thing that's made national news quite a bit recently, and that was the passage and signage of the right-to-work legislation.
Yep.
Actually, two separate bills, one that applied to private sector unions and one that applied to public sector unions. Right. Both of which I am completely in favor of. I think it's a great win, for the state and
Michigan
and for workers and for individuals.
Michigan being a traditional labor-strong state.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a turning point. Yeah. I really think it's a 24th state to adopt some sort of right-to-work legislation. And what right-to-work does, I guess, let's be clear here, there's a lot of confusion about this. All it does, and especially in the bill for the private sector in Michigan, all it does is gives the individual worker the choice of whether they want to pay union dues and be part of the union or whether they don't. And they cannot be forced to join a union just to be employed somewhere.
Or discriminated against, I suppose. Not hired, because they didn't join the union.
That I'm not so sure.
Do they get protected?
I'm not so sure. I don't know. I assume, because I doubt that will come up.
Well, your argument is that they're forced to pay union dues, but if they're not able to get that job and be protected for not paying union dues, then I don't know how that benefits them, because if they chose not to before the law, they weren't hired.
Right.
So
I doubt there are too many businesses in the private sector that enjoy having unions in their shop that would make that discrimination, unless they're getting some ridiculous pressure from Jimmy Hoffa or something to hire these people. I don't see that being an issue. It could be an issue. Really, to me, employers should be able to discriminate on almost anything in their hiring process. I've had employers that tested for nicotine and things like that, and it's just kind of odd because that's not typical, but that's fine with me. And
Michigan was always an at-will type of state anyways. They could fire you for any reason, whether you were in a union or not.
Yep.
And the union had certain steps that you had to go through to fire someone.
Certain unions, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all different. And, I think some of the biggest stuff that came out in the news was the opposition to the right-to-work legislation. There were something like 13 or 15,000 people estimated at the Capitol this last Tuesday.
How many?
13,000 was the number I heard.
No, there's no way there was that many.
Oh. Did you count them?
I counted every one.
How many were there?
7.
It was a rough estimate.
It was very
a rough estimate.
Yeah.
So I
don't know that it was nearly that high. I think
okay.
that was.
There were a lot of people there.
It was expounded upon.
I went down there. There were a lot of people there.
I looked at photos from buildings and from aerial
and
photos and stuff.
It's hard to say.
I don't know.
I heard numbers between 10 and 15,000.
Yeah, I think
so
that was.
There were a lot of people there.
The unions wanted the higher numbers, of course.
Uh-huh.
The right to work people wanted less numbers.
And that's a really good point because the media generally is pro-union.
Right.
They lean left.
Pro-labor. Yep.
Pro-labor, pro-union. Yep. So that's a good point. If there were 7 people there, it doesn't matter.
I think there were more than 7. I was kidding.
9, 10, 15,
yeah.
30 tops, I think. I think you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think you're right.
Oh, my goodness, there were lots of people there. It was the biggest rally that I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah. Big opposition, they're up there
lived in this area
screaming with their blowhorns on the
25 years.
Screaming with their blowhorns on the the Capitol steps and all that stuff. But Americans for Prosperity,
which they have every right to do.
It's exactly right.
I don't agree with some of the tactics that went on. I don't believe that you should get physical with other people. I don't think there should be property destroyed. I'm all for peaceful demonstrations.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case.
No, Americans for Prosperity put up a tent. They are a conservative group, obviously pro right to work, and they were there supporting the bills, the right to work bills. They were in the middle. They had this huge tent. You fit 800 people under this thing, right?
I think you're exaggerating.
I'm bad with numbers. No, but they had a big tent in the middle of the
It was not a
Capitol
circus
lawn.
tent.
It was not a circus tent. No,
more like a ox roast tent or something.
Yeah. So you listeners out there, you think of the tent they have at the ox roast.
Anyways,
and that's about the size it was.
Or a barbecue or whatever.
That's a fairly local festival, by the way. But
anyways, it was. Anyways,
the meat really isn't ox, which disappointed me. What are you going to do?
Let's not get on there.
Well, it's an ox roast, and they have ox burgers, and I expected to have ox, and it wasn't ox, but it was just
delicious
beef,
wasn't
anyway.
It? Or was it dog?
I think it may have been dog or
cat.
Chihuahua, possibly Chihuahua. That sounds
condor.
Good. A little spicy.
Could have been condor.
I hate snakes.
No, that's anaconda. Condor is actually a large scavenger bird.
They had this tent set up. There were people inside, reportedly elderly and women and children.
Doesn't matter. There were people inside.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if there were people inside or not.
Anyways, there's
video footage of these allegedly right to work, anti-right to work union
there's some
thugs.
Discrepancy with that,
and they. I don't know how you can argue that they weren't there, protesting the bill, but they tore it down.
Some reports
they
that they
turned violent.
They were paid protesters to do this, but anyways,
of course,
and they
were reports.
And they didn't do it until national news was there, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't think national news caught any of this on video.
I thought Fox was there, but anyways,
well, all of the outlets had people there. I mean. You have a protest this big, and you're going to have pretty much every news outlet that you can think of that's going to be there. Right. And I'm going to draw this out as long as I can.
But they were specifically coming there and
mostly
saw these
because
guys.
I enjoy your hand gestures.
Yeah. I'll give you a hand gesture.
It's really enjoyable to me.
I've got one
I
for
like
you right
that
now.
one. That's
a
good one. That's a good one.
Number 1, baby. Anyways,
You're using the wrong finger.
I know.